When you open the software, you will get the dialog box. I guess by now you all have opened your software already, but you generally get one pop-up, right, where it asks you to select a template. There are a couple of tabs on top. There is, recent and other things. So, but you choose the tab where you are able to select a template for units. And why we are using large meters here is basically that what you select, whether it is small, large, medium, that will decide on what kind of accuracy you want in the model. Accuracy as in an architectural setting like this, we are going to do a building. We are not concerned about millimeter accuracy, right? You are getting it. We are concerned about what is accuracy. Now you can set up to what accuracy you want the model to be done at. You want the accuracy to be at 1 millimeter, 0.001 millimeter, or you want the accuracy to be something like 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters. When you do a large model, right, you can afford for things not to join exactly precisely. There's a gap of 1 centimeter or 1 mm, 2 mm is fine. It won't make a difference even when you build it. You're getting it. But if you're doing something like a design of a mobile, let's say, it matters. The accuracy has to be 0.001 mm, right? Every millimeter counts there. So you need to decide what accuracy you want. So when we say large meters, that means we are saying the accuracy is large. We are doing something very large, so the accuracy reduces. You getting? Okay, so just when you open this software, you have this. These are called as 4 viewports. You have top, front, right, perspective. Fine. So this is way of drawing things, yeah, in this software. So if you want to draw something on top, you can draw here. If you want to draw something from elevation, front, right, you can draw it from here. If you want to see the entire model, you can sometimes work in perspective itself and build things in perspective. Sometimes you have to draw things in one of these viewports and then extrude things out, right? Project, extrude, loft. So these are new terms for you because you have not used this in SketchUp. But okay, so and on top you would get to see the menu bars, right? So as a standard menu bars, you are accustomed to some of this in Microsoft Office, Word, and other softwares. Even SketchUp has these, right? File, edit, view, and many others, Windows and many others. Here you would see something different, right? So if you click on any one of this, there are extra menus under this and sub menus. There's this little arrows here. So there are other tools hidden here. So you can go one by one and check the different menus under each of these tabs. Right? And you are not accustomed to any of this. These are specific to Rhino. Okay. Some of these plugins that are installed by me, like paneling tools, you wouldn't get to see. Keyshot you won't get to see, right? None of this you would get to see. So these are all additional because they have been installed as plugins. Okay, on this side, just like SketchUp, you have some tools, right? This is the toolbar of V-Ray. So once we come to learn V-Ray, we would know how to install this and what does this all mean. Similarly, here again you have some more tabs, right, which are more or less similar to these. These are iconic representations of like we are under curve tools here. So if I go on the curve again, these are the same things, yeah, but these are text based, right? It does the same thing. So you can either select things from here, draw a circle from here, or you can come here and you can draw a circle from here. Right? Another good thing about the Rhino is that you can use a command prompt just like how you do it in AutoCAD. Yeah, you all are used to using command prompts, right? Many of we are not very accustomed to using icons like this. You have to really dig down into the into the tabs like this and really search where exactly is it. So what I was trying to say is all the iconic representations of the tools that are here are similar to what you have under these, right? So if you say curve, there is curve tools here. If you say surface, there are surface tools. If you say solid, there are solid tools, right? So it's the same thing, fine. It's where sometimes it's difficult to go under this and search for things. So many of you may prefer going by the icons, yeah. And many of you may even be more comfortable using the command. So you have the command line prompt. The only difference is in AutoCAD, it is somewhere at the bottom here, whereas here it's on top. There are ways to put it down, but let's not do all that, yeah. Okay, and on the right hand side here you have a navigator like how you have in ArchiCAD, right? You have the, remember, project map and view map, but these are not equivalent to that. There are different tabs here. So properties will show you, the dimensions, colors and everything of the objects that you draw. Then there are layers. You could create layers and put objects under layers. And there are many others, and actually you can add to this. You can put as many tabs as you want under this. So we'll come to that later. Towards the bottom, if you look at this, these are similar to what you have as O-snap points in AutoCAD, by which you can, jump to endpoints, midpoints, perpendicular points, right, as you draw in 2D or in 3D. Fine. So these buttons are there, and some of the, as I've told you, you wouldn't get to see these because these are added as plugins. All of these, and even at the bottom you have these, right? Okay. So essentially when you open your software, you have this 4 viewports, and it shows you the units. You're working with meters here. Is it any different in yours? I will come to that. We'll look at the settings, how to set these to different units, millimeters and other things. And as you're moving the mouse, it shows X, Y, Z coordinates. So it's giving you real kind of positions of your cursor, right, in the space. Right? And everything that you draw in this viewports are in 1:1 scale, in real scale, yeah. So let's just draw something here. Let's see how it is different drawing in top view. Why would you draw sometimes in the orthographic views? This is also called as orthographic views because it doesn't have a third dimension, right? What are these things, red and green? How did I get a hand here? I just use my right mouse button, click and drag, so you get this. Right? So here you get this. But there's a funny thing here. If you can see, look at the perspective view. There is red and green on the ground here. So it would be the same in the top view, right? Because if you see from top, you would have the red and the green. But it's a funny thing in the front and right also. Why do you have? So you would assume that this thing is flipped around by 90 degrees or something, but it's not. So you should know this concept that there is something called as world plane and there is something called as C plane, construction plane. So what is C plane? C plane, it just helps you to kind of draw in 2D. So this is a front view, means it is a 2D view, right? So when you draw things here, you will draw in X and Y. You are not relating this axis to this axis. You are getting it? But world coordinate axis is what? This is a real world coordinate axis where X is always in this direction, Y is perpendicular to it, and Z is always in the height space, right? Whereas here, what happens? This is a construction plane, so this kind of planes are used only to draw in 2D, right? To draw in X and Y dimensions. Are you getting it? It has nothing to do with your world axis. Don't ever assume that this is flipped or something. Just because you need to draw in front view, you need to have the 2 dimensions, no, X and Y. It's called, so likewise I can set this construction planes in any ways. I mean, it doesn't have to be only horizontal or vertical. I can make an inclined plane like that, right? You see my hand is inclined. I can put a plane on it and I can start drawing on it. So I will still have my X and Y. Are you getting it? So that's the difference between world and construction plane. Sorry? For drawing, of course, construction plane only will be useful. No, you never. I mean, this never gets flipped. This always remains as a constant. It is not about being useful or what, but while you draw things, you only draw it using construction planes. And we'll illustrate that maybe more in detail when we come to that topic. Yeah. For as of now, we will just see how is it different drawing in top, front, orthographic views like this, top, front and right, and how is it different drawing it in the perspective. So let's just draw something. Let's come to standard toolbar. Let's just draw a rectangle. So I won't put any dimensions or anything now. So just draw. Now I've drawn this, it has appeared here, right? Right? So now if I want to make it into solid, what do I have to do? In SketchUp it would have been little easier, because the minute you drew a rectangle, it would cover it up as a surface. So some things are a little different, you'll have to get to accustomed to it. So now if I want to convert this into solid, what I need to do is I need to come to surface, because I want to create a surface out of it, and then I have to say from planar curves. Planar curves means it lies in one plane. Select this. This is selected already. It's converted, I guess, already. You just have to put the hatch on. See? So there is this hatch button here. Shaded mode. And just click once on it. If you right click on it, it goes off, it becomes a wireframe. If you left click, it becomes a shaded mode. So there's a surface here. And then what do you do with it? I think I've created twice, that's why it's showing me. So I can select one and I can delete. We're still left with one. So I can take this and then I can there's a command called as solid. I can just say extrude. Now we don't have to extrude the curve. Yeah, extrude curve straight. Select this. 1 second. So we need to say surface, solid, extrude surface, straight. Select this, enter, and then now you can give a precise distance here. You can just type whatever, say 10, enter. I'll get a precise height of 10 meters, whatever units you're working in. Is this clear? Repeat it again. So the way you did is you first drew a curve, you converted that going to surface, planar curves, right? Once it is a surface, then you go under solid and say extrude planar curve straight. Select the extrude surface straight, select it and extrude this out. You can give it a dimension. You can just type something, it will directly take it on top here. Just say enter. Fine. Yeah, so we are working in meters here, correct. If it is in millimeters, you will type, maybe if you want 20 meters, you will type 20000. Okay, is this clear? Now if you want to draw something, so I'll just delete this. If you want to draw something directly in 3D, then we have some primitives here. So you can see a little triangle here. If you open that, you can split this. So you can split the toolbar all together like that, right? So how did I do it? Just come under this, open this triangle, and you get this top bar, right? So click and hold and drag. But it won't be gone from here, it is still there, so it creates a copy of it. Sometimes it's handy to kind of split it away so that you can only use these, right? So let's say you want to draw a box again, so just click on the box. So now it won't make any sense to draw on top view. You know why? It's already 3D, but let's say if you want to give it a dimension here, that you can give in the 3D viewport as well, right? You getting it? So how do you generally give a dimension for a rectangle in AutoCAD? Oh, we will not go to dimensions as of now, but I'll just show you. So if it's a command which directly draws a 3D what would it require? What are the components it require? I've clicked on one point, second point and third point, right? Becomes easier for you to draw it in 3D more than actually doing it in any of the other views. So you get to see a shaded view here, but here, so you can independently keep different view modes for this. If you want these into wireframes, you can keep these wireframes, you can keep these in shaded mode. But if you want to convert these into shaded mode, again just come to that viewport, click inside. So when you click inside the viewport, it turns blue here, right? All others are lighter color than this, right? This is little grayish. So then you can be rest assured that you're inside of that viewport, and then just go ahead and click on this. So it has happened, right? So again, if you want to click into others thing, just right click into other viewports. So right click basically executes the command again, same command, the last command again. So okay, this is done. So I'll delete this. Have you understood till here? Now there are a lot of tools under this. If you want to draw straight lines, see, essentially also in SketchUp your work starts with two-dimensional lines, right? 2D lines, and then you extrude them and do things with it, right? You create model. So in Rhino also it is the same, except that if you're using the primitives, these are called as the primitives. So you want to draw these first and then build around, do some tweaking around, add things to it, or edit the same shapes, extrude them and do other things, cut a hole into it or project things, right? Then you can start with the 3D mode. But if you want to do a model afresh, start from the scratch as you say, then you have to use some of these tools, not some of these, all of these tools. So if it's a straight line, you'll have to use many of this. So there are differences how each one is different than the other. Then under circle, how to draw a circle, there are different methods here. Then drawing arcs, again there are different methods, rectangles, polygons, right? You have star shapes and other things. You can just put points, random points, multiple points. You can put points along a curve. You can draw a curve also. There are different methods. These are called as Bezier splines. You heard of Bezier splines? These are essentially used to draw curved walls and other things. Yeah? So there are different methods. We'll look at it one by one, and then there are commands here. You heard of union, subtraction. What you can do with solids, you can combine them, subtract them, intersect them. Those are called as Boolean operations. You are aware of it. So you can do a lot of it, like you can, besides intersecting, cutting, intersecting, subtracting, editing, you can do a lot of other things under this. So we'll come to that later. There are things to join, explode, there are things to stream and split. There are tools for you to make arrays, yeah. There are tools for you to move things around, transform things, yeah, create a mirror. Right? Then there are tools for you to rotate, there are tools for you to put text, right? There are tools for you to group and ungroup things. Okay, so and as I've said, here you could create layers, and as you're creating objects, you can put these objects under this and control the visibility. So you can decide on this. You have plumbing, you have electricals and other things. You could put them under respective layers, and if you're working only on one layer, you want to have a clutter free space, you can just toggle things on and off. Is this clear? So you have these 4 viewports. If you want to maximize any of these viewports, you just have to double click on it. And to go back again, double click on this, go into the other one. Fine. Now here it's giving you a scale. So what does it say? So it says that each grid is about 5 meters, right? And furthermore, within that 5 meters, there are 5 divisions. That means each division would be like a meter. So sometimes when you want to draw things, work very intuitively without using any scale or something, this comes very handy. So as you zoom out, the scale also increases. but note that you're always working in 1:1 here. Is this clear? Sorry? It doesn't show up? Okay, we'll come to that. We'll have to search for it under options and we'll come to that. Yeah, just remind me at the end of the class. So you double click on this and then go into the other one. Fine. You can resize this. So for example, you want to see all of this and you want to, let's say, see more of top view. You can resize it like this. Fine. You're getting it? You want to only increase this one like that. Decrease this one. That's also possible. Fine. And you can click on this one to do the default again. If you have messed up with your viewports, you can click on this one here under standards. So for most of the times you'll work under standard, where there are important tools like cut, copy, paste, which you are aware of, redo, undo, fine, hand, orbit, zoom, zoom extends, zoom window, zoom extends. This you all are familiar with, right? Sometimes you have objects which are very small, and without having to zoom into it, spend a lot of time, you can just select the object and use this one. So it'll just zoom right into that object. Fine. This is zoom previous, undo view change. So this will not undo an operation what you have drawn, but it will go back to a previous view. Okay. These are a little complex. We can come to this later. And what you need to know is this toolbar here. So see, if you look at many of these tools, there is a triangle here, right? And there are more tools under this, right? But if you hover your mouse over any of these tools, what is shown under this tool? Shaded viewport. And so what I'll do is I'll just draw something here. Doesn't make sense me explaining in the empty viewport, so we'll have some object here. And see, what does it show? Shaded viewport. And see, it says that if you left click, it will show you. If you right click on the same icon. So when there are two tools shown, for example, here again you'll have to see polygon, line segment. If I want to draw a line segment, I right click on this, click 1 and 2. So these are line segments. If I want to click polyline, click on the left and then you can draw. See, as I'm drawing, it is reflecting in other viewports. Are you getting it? Fine. So what is the difference between the line and the polyline? Polyline becomes one single object, whereas in line it allows you to draw continuously, but then it gets split. This is clear? And these you don't really worry about. So this is for saving and other things. Fine. You want to save your file, save as. We'll come to this all other things later. You can just say if it's a fresh file, new file that you open, it's called as untitled. If you just say save once, it'll save it, and then you can give it a location where you want to save it and all that, right? This is to create a new file. Now, when you create a new file, the old file will be closed always. Okay, not many softwares allow you to do it, including Macs. It doesn't allow you to work on multiple files, except that if you'll have to open Rhino twice and then work on it. You're getting it? Here under this you can import AutoCAD files or any other files, JPEG files that you want to work over, or you want to export what you've been working on in Rhino. You want to export it as a SketchUp file. You can export these into SketchUp files again. Yeah? So there are different ArchiCAD even. It can even be exported to ArchiCAD, AutoCAD, Collada. Collada is a format that is used by Lumion. So you can export your model directly into Lumion and then start rendering from there, right? And many other. So SketchUp also is here. RenderMan is a rendering software. And you can save in different versions. You can save it to a Max file also. You can take this into a 3ds Max. Why people use Max is because you can really get good rendering quality, that very photorealistic quality. And so part of your model can be done in Rhino, which is difficult to do in Max, and then you can continue from there to build in Max, whatever is easy in Max, including the visualizations and renderings. Okay, fine. So this is about the viewport. Now, what should we look at? So let's just say Control A and just delete this, and let's just look at some interesting features of Rhino. Fine. So I will not start with all of these. We can look at these later. But I'll show you some fine salient features about Rhino. What things you can do in Rhino which you can't do in Sketchup. So for example, let's just draw an arch. Okay, let's just draw a vault. You all know what a vault is. We'll try to draw a vault where arches are different. We don't have a standard radius for the arches, so it's not like a barrel vault. We'll draw something which is very wavy, you know, in nature. So then of course the arches are going to be vertical. So do you want to draw it in top view or front view? What do you say? I can draw it in top view and then I can rotate it, right? But what do you suggest? Should it be easier to draw it in the front view or right view? Because these are vertical modes, no? These are vertical modes. So let's just draw it here. And I'll show you the other way also, how you can draw it in top view. Or I'll first show you how to draw it in the top view and then we'll come there. So there are again, if you see, there are two curves here. It's control point curves and what is the other thing? Curve through points. Now how different is it? Just see. Now this one is control point curve and this one is curve through points. So the curve passes through the point. So let's just do this one by one and see. Let's go to the top view and let's just draw an arch here. Right? And you can just say enter to end the. Now if you look at this, the control points are not shown. The control point setting is under here. So if you see here, the arch doesn't quite go through the points. So this is a standard Bezier spline. You know what is a Bezier spline? You don't know this concept of, you know, curves. What are curves? So if we draw a curve here, this is your curve. I'll use the 3-point method. So this is your curve, right? What is the difference between this one and this one? Who can tell me? This is always a part of a circle. A curve is always a part of a circle. You can get at the most you can get, the variation that you can get is an ellipse, right? Right? So you can draw an ellipse like that and then you can put a line and let's say trim away this portion. Just see what I'm doing first, we do not do anything. So at the most I can do this, right? But it is still an ellipse. It's constraining either into a circle or an ellipse. But if you want to sometimes get shapes which doesn't fall into that category, which has multi-curvatures like what I've drawn here, then those can be drawn only through, it uses a mathematical calculation function and people have worked on it and it has come to be known as Bezier splines. It's similar to splines which you are aware of. This Bezier word is very common if you're using Photoshop or pen tools in Photoshop or CorelDRAW, wherein this curve is dictated by the control points. If I hold on to this control points, you can have any bulge, any shape, right? The curve doesn't essentially go through it. See? Here the point is much at a distance from the curve. As the point gets closer to the curve, what happens? The curve mellows down, becomes almost in line with that point, right? Or it becomes almost tangential to the rest of the curve, right? As I move it further, what happens? Changes its direction. Is this clear? Now most of the curved geometries that you can build in Rhino, it comes from curves. You don't have standard solid objects that we can work from, except for the primitives. Which are the curved objects in primitives? You have a sphere or a cylinder, right? There's nothing else. And there is very limited way you will be able to edit even those. You won't be able to create very complex or out of the box kind of shapes from those original primitive shapes. But here you can create any shapes, but you have to begin with a Bezier spline like this. These are also called as NURBS. NURBS is a word as 3D animators or 3D students, 3D professionals, you should know what are NURBS. You might want to write it down. It's called as a non-uniform rational Bezier splines. And then there are URBS also, which are uniform rational curves. So NURBS are generally associated with this type of curves. Not getting this point. Had you clicked on this one, points on, you have to select the object that you've drawn and then click on that, these points. Okay, is this clear? So these are called as NURBS. The thing about Rhino is you can really get very smooth NURB surfaces. What does that mean? It won't be pixelated. Have you seen models done in Max or any other softwares? Or even if you do a curved object in SketchUp, it won't be exactly curved. You know how the curves are formed? Curves are formed like they are smaller linear, either triangular or polygonal shapes, which gets, by the very size of these polygons, it determines how smooth or not so smooth surface is, right? Whereas NURBS is what? It's a pure surface. It's exactly pure curved surface. There are no smaller units which makes the larger surfaces. You're getting it? There is a difference. Now, many of these softwares, 3ds Max or Cinema 4D or Maya or some of these production softwares, they don't use NURBS. They use the different approach which is called as polygon meshes. So you have NURBS on one side and you have the other polygon mesh. See, I'm giving you these words because it's our very first lecture and you should know basic standard words, right? Okay, so is this clear about the control points? How for Bezier splines or NURBS that we refer to has got control points, and how by moving these control points one can control the different variations, smoothness, right, and other things. If you want to create some sharp kinks, we'll come to that, what is kink and all that. But essentially you know this controls the smoothness of this, right? Whereas here what happens? See, now you got a kink here. See, when we moved a similar point in this, everything else is changed, no? It has an effect on the surrounding curve. Whereas here, just see what happens, okay? What happened? It doesn't affect it. So this is what I am referring to as kink, K-I-N-K. So, and you can't get smooth curves with this. So that is the problem. So you got the difference? You just delete this. And then you can delete these control points. For example, if I delete this control point, what would happen? Are you getting this? If I delete this, for example, if I delete this one, it will take this one, the next one would be this, and the curve would be rounded off between the 2 points. Is this clear? Now, if you want to make this more smoother, I can always come to control points here. Under this, I can insert a control point, and I can move my cursor along this. I have to select the object first, and I can move along this. See, it moves along this. Let's say I want something here, so I can add a point there, and I can add a point there. And then I can select my selection tool. I did not say enter. Very important, you have to say enter after putting it. So select the object, put a curve and say enter. Very important. And then you can select this point, and I can move that around. Is clear? And then you can delete the points. You can just select this. You can select multiple points even using shift, and you can just hit delete. Are you all doing as I am teaching you? Good. If you want some more time to practice, you please let me know to go slow or whatever. Sorry? A little louder, please. This one you're saying, the arc, the same one. How I added control points. How I added control points. Very simple. You select this line. You want to come out of this control mode, control points mode. You can just use F10, yeah, function F10, or you can just click on this again. No, it doesn't work. Or use escape twice. So click on this and come over here. Under control points, there is a button called as insert a control point. So then you can just keep on adding control points and just say enter. Very important. Fine. And you want to use again, go into control point. Let's just delete all of this and do what we were about to do. So the second option again, so before doing the next thing, I'll show you what is the other method of drawing curve. So now in this method, if you see, the curve will pass through the points. Is it not? You have to say enter. Click on this point and then go to control points or press F10. While drawing, sometimes it will be easier for you. For example, you have a JPEG image and you have a curve drawn on the JPEG image. You'll be able to use this method because then you will click on the point on the image, right? Exactly, and precisely the curve will go through. Whereas the first option won't be the right option, because if you click on the lines of the JPEG, what will happen? It will put the control points there and not put the curves there. Whereas this one will put the curve, the line exactly on those points. Only thing, your control point still will be detached. I mean, it won't be along that. So don't confuse that because the curve passed through the points, that the control points are embedded in that curve. No, the control points are still detached. Are you getting it? Like the first option. So you can do the same thing with this. You can just fine. So this is the only difference. That's it. Let's just delete all of this and let's draw the vault with different radius, different curvatures. So we can use the first method. Let's do it in the top view first. So if you want to snap to these grids, then you can put the grid on. Where is it? Grid snap. So the grid snap is on here, right? So for this exercise we can use grid on. Fine. Click the last one and just say enter. So we can draw some other curve here. Just draw some variations here. Enter. And I'm using the right mouse. Fine. Fine, so 3 should be enough. So what do we do with these curves? Now if I double click into this and go to perspective, you can see these, right? These are like this. So what we can do with it is we can put the control points one by one. So if I select this, put the control points on, then you can select the control points like this, and then you can move it in the other viewport. You can make it vertical. You're getting it? So this is one way of doing it. So what did I do? I select on this. If I say enter, it will again use the last command, which is to say enable the control points. So the control points are enabled. So these 2 points are going to be on the ground, right? You want the other 4 points to be taken in the sky or higher up. You select this one by one, and then you are able to move it either from here like this, but it's going to be very approximate, see? Fine? Either from the view, or you can even move it from here. Fine? So this is one way. Other way is I'll just undo this. There's a nice command here called as gumball. So you select this, fine, and just zoom into this. If you look at this, there is this blue, red and green, which indicates your axis, and then again there are again the same colors, but these are curved shapes, right? Now what does this say? What does the red one say? Red one says that I am about to be rotated about the x-axis. The blue one says that I am about to be rotated along the blue axis, and the green one will say one can rotate it along the green axis. Now how do you want to rotate it about which axis do you think, so that it becomes vertical? Green? Not green? So this is the green axis. We want to pivot it along that, right? So you can just double click on this. So the green is highlighted, and you can just type 90. It should have been minus 90. So just double click on this and say minus 90. Got this? Double click on the green and just say minus 90. And this is another way. See, in perspective mode, you can't use a right button for panning, whereas in the other three modes, these are orthographic modes, there won't be orbit around in this, no? The orbit option won't be there in this, correct? Because these are orthographic, whereas here you require orbit option. So the orbit option is defaulted to the right button in the perspective, whereas here it is defaulted to the right button. If you want to use pan here, you have to use shift along with this. Along with the right button, you use shift. So we were in the perspective view and we have moved this around like this, fine? Sorry? But if you look at this, the only problem with this is, see, all the points don't match. So if you go to the front view, you see here, they don't start from the ground. Whereas what the first option would have done is, the ground points you could have kept as it is, fine? Are you following this? Even a better method would have been, let's draw one more method, so we'll just undo a couple of times. What would have been the better method so that all the ground plane remains same? What if I had to draw this in the front view itself? So for example, I'll delete these. So what you have is, you have the front view, and what we'll do is we'll draw these things here. I have used a right click on this. So what will it do? When I do a right click through this, what will it do? Okay. 1 second. It's okay. So I'll start drawing from here. It is now drawing from the point, right? So I can draw some few more. So how do you think this method will be different than the other, what we had done earlier? Here the advantage is everything is at the same point, and we don't have to rotate things, we don't have to use control points. But the only problem is, all these lines are drawn one top of other. They are like this. Now what you have to do? Move them. So very simple. So what you can do now is, you can click on this one. You can orbit around. See here, there is a thing about construction plane. Now the construction plane in the front view is exactly aligned with the x-axis. So you are drawing there, right? And then you can click on these, and since my gumball is on, you can put it off or put it off. You can even select this and move it like this. Use your shift button to move things like this. You can select the other one and move it along like this. Clear? So now they are at different lengths. Okay, I can even move them in the plan now. So the second one is a little closer to this, so I can just hold this one and move it a little further so that they're equally spaced out. Now that equal spacing you can't see in the 3D, right? So you have to do it in the top view. Clear? Now once this is done, what we'll do is we'll try to, you might want to wonder if it's possible to connect all these different curves into a vault. Do you think it's possible? So that we have one single vault which kind of transforms from one shape to the other. Yes, it's possible. There is a command under surface called a loft, and you select the different sections, but it has to be in the order, same order. If I select this and then select this and then I select this, the result will be much different than if I select this in proper succession. So I've selected these three and I've said enter, and then I get a dialog box here. So what it has tried to do is it has connected all the three curves and created a transformation between them, a smooth transformation. So this is a NURB surface now. What you had done were the B-splines, and this is called as a NURB surface. Now here you have different options. If I say close loft, see what will happen. So close loft, what it generally does is it takes the first one, it takes the last one, and it connects the first and the last again. It creates a transformation, but again it will close it by joining the first with the last. So we don't want that. So we'll remove this, and you can put your preview on here, and what you can say is I want loose, and see the preview. So you can try this out. Now if you see here, the surfaces don't quite, yeah, the first one and the last one it is touching, but the middle one, see, it's not touching. So it has kind of rounded it off so that it matches with this. It just averages it out. Then if you say tight, yeah, so you need to change, I mean you might want to play with this for the kind of desired effect you want. If you say here, what has happened? Straight means what? All the surfaces are straight actually. See, there is a very rigid edge here, no? Ridge you can see here, solid ridge. It's no longer smoother here. If you go to developable, now this is developable. What is developable? If you want to develop this surface, like do it in paper, right? You build this in paper and then join the smaller pieces of paper, you'll be able to use this method. And uniform. So you can play with this, but generally normal works best. And don't worry about this as of now. Don't worry about these also, we can come to this later, and just say OK. So it has created a surface, and the curves will be intact. So if I click on this point, it will show you some options. Why does it show you option? Because it says besides the curve there is also a surface. What do you want to select? So if I say surface, it will select the surface. But if I say the curve, it will select the curve, right? So, and you can simply use space bar, say surface. Okay, is this clear? So this is one way. Now if I, let's say if I change this curve, for example, if I go to control points and if I change this curve and move this one vertically up, it doesn't affect. So if I go to front view and if I move this around, why am I going to front view now? To move it? Anyone tell me? So that I am able to move it exactly perpendicular. If I try to move it here, what will happen? I can move it, but I'll have to put the gumball on and I won't be precise. You won't precisely know how much you're moving, you know. But in the front view, what happens? Front or right view, you can precisely move it, right? And you can be rest assured that it's moving in the same plane, vertical plane. Are you following this? Nima, are you there? Are you following it? Okay, so that is the reason why you have to work in the orthographic projection, so that you kind of restrict to the same plane. All your movements, all your editing is restricted to the same plane. Yeah. So but it's possible. Now what I tried doing just now is try to change the curve with the control point and see if the surface also responds to it, but it doesn't. There is a method where it does. Only thing, you need to put this button record history on. So this button should have been highlighted before you created the loft. Okay, so I'll just show you. Let's remove this. Fine. What we'll do now is put the record history on, and now we'll try to create a loft from these three surfaces. There can be n number of these sections. There can be 10 numbers, 20 numbers. You can create as much as you want. Fine. So say OK. Now if you try moving these points, the record history has gone, but I don't know why it has gone, but let me just check. See now, is it changing? See, it's changing the surface. Are you getting this? So even after creating surfaces, so we had the curves first from which surfaces are created, but the surfaces again can be controlled by editing the curves. So that's so nice. Fine. You want to put additional point, you can put additional points also. Okay, any difficulties up to here? Anyone, any difficulties? Are you all following this? Sorry? Record history one. Okay, we'll just undo this couple of times. So what I was trying to show you is earlier this one was not highlighted when we created the surfaces. So as such, what happened if I try to change the control points, change in the curve did not affect the surface. But if I desire that change in the curves has to affect the surface, if I desire so in the future, you have to make sure record history is put on here before you create that surface. Fine. So this is on now, and now I will execute that command called as loft. So I'll just do my loft. Enter. What has gone wrong? Can anyone tell me what's going wrong? That's because there's another thing about this. If I try to create a loft, and if I select one point on this curve on this side, and this curve on this side, and this curve on this side, it tries to kind of connect that point with the other point. So it's very important again to make sure that you select on the same side. Now you have to make sure record history has gone. So you have to make sure this one is on. And if let's say you want this record history to be on always, so what happens, as soon as you complete the command, it will be the highlight will go off. So but if you want to say like this has to remain on at all times, sometimes you forget to keep it on, and then you've done a command and again you have to redo the command because it is not affecting the changes. So make sure it is put on here, and then you can say surface loft. Second, I did a mistake, I guess. So right click will repeat the command 1, 2, 3. So now then you can select the curve like this, go to control points, and you can move these, and it will affect. See? Okay? Clear? So this is called as a loft operation. Let's do something else. We'll see two other important commands in Rhino. So how do we do it? So sweep 1, sweep 2 rails. Okay, we'll go to the front mode. So you can double click even these tabs to quickly go to the projection, the viewports. Front. Okay, so I have one hexagon and I'll draw a circle. Okay, this is done in the front view, and then I can move it in the perspective mode. So I have these two. Now what I'll do is I'll draw the circle in the other right mode. So your circle is around here. So if I look at it in the 3D, this one is a little smaller. Scale it. I'll show you the scaling and all later, don't worry about it. So we'll go to the top view and we'll move these two. So I can just move things like this. Yeah. Select this. This is possible because the gumball is on. Okay. If the gumball is off, then you'll have to click and drag like this. Okay. Sometimes it's a nuisance because it occupies a lot of space. You can't see the object. Sometimes it's good. So okay. So now what we'll have to draw is we'll have to draw a curve here. So I'll draw this curve starting from you can start from here. Is this clear so far? How have I drawn this? So this one is drawn in one view plane, maybe front, and this is drawn in the side, because this has to be like almost 90 degrees, and we are then trying to connect the two with a line. So now what we are going to do with this command is we are going to sweep one surface along the other surface, along this curve, sorry. Right? So these are going to be joined. Are you getting this? So go to surface, sweep one rail, select the rail, select the cross sections. Now you'll get weird results if these directions are different. You want the directions to be same, so just click on this point, just move it around like this. 1 second. You want it in the same direction as let me just do it in the top view. Let's just keep this and just see what happens. No, you're not getting a desired result. It's something that I'm doing wrongly. I think this needs to be rotated. This needs to be rotated. 1 second. Now it will be done. Surface, sweep one rail, cross sections. Now it will be done. See? And just say OK. Don't worry about this. You can use different ones and you can just check the results. It will be slightly different, but generally freeform works fine. Don't worry about it. Just say OK. So what you get to see here is a transformation from a hexagon to a circle. So here if you can see straight edges here, and suddenly these edges become smoothened out as it approaches the circle. Is this clear? So this is one approach. Now it will just take one direction in this case. But let's say you want to have two bulge or two different directions. So you can add one more rail. So I have added one more rail. Fine. Now if I try to do sweep two rails, select two rails, select the cross sections, say enter. What has happened? Not a desired result, but what I'm trying to show here is the sweep will be done on two rails. It will constrain to this and it will constrain to this as well. Are you getting it? Are you following what I'm trying to show you? Probably this should have been rotated so that the base was on the ground here. Let me just see if I can show you in some other method. Top view, front view. Just draw this again. I'll take a square this time. Take one, move it ahead. Then we rotate it by 90 degrees. Move it around. Yeah, this is better. This one will work. Can scale this a little bit. Now we have two bases, so now we can draw between these two. So we have one rail here, and we'll have quite a big bulge here. Just to accentuate what I'm showing you, we'll use surface, sweep two rails. These are your rails about which the cross sections will move. So no sooner you select the second rail, the command has changed to select cross sections. Select this one and this one. So this is very important. This arrows should be in the same directions. Now this one is horizontal and this one is not, right? Right? So what you need to do is move along slightly. Make sure, yeah, now it is aligned. Now it is aligned, and you can move that point. It doesn't do both. Anyways, keep it. The direction is important, so we'll keep this here, and we'll say enter. So I don't know why this is happening. Yeah, okay. Sorry. Yeah. See what happens with the arrow is sweep to rail 1, 2, select the rails. So what happens is, see the sweep has to be along this, right? So if these directions are opposite, you'll get weird results. The directions of the arrows have to be more or less in the same direction. So for example, if I move this arrow in this direction, then this one also will have to be in the same direction as this. See, now these arrows are different now. Just see what happens. This one is going on top, this one is going down. Just see what happens. You get weird effects. It will twist around. Are you all following this thing about arrows or no? Alisa, are you having difficulty with the arrows? Sorry? Selecting what? You select the rails first. So if you go under surface, sweep to rails, it's asking you here, just follow the commands. Select first rail, second rail, and then it will ask you to select the cross section. So select first and select the next one and just say enter. When you say enter, just to cross check, it will give you the arrows feedback. So you need to now see, if I click on this, it will go vertical. If I click on this, it will go horizontal, right? So You need to decide how you want it. So how do you think we want it so that this sweep happens perfectly? See, it has to match. This arrow comes inside, right? So this arrow cannot go outside like this. There will be a problem. Just see, if I put it outside and if hit enter, see what has happened. Right? Just do it again. Select the rails. And now we'll try to change the arrow. What you have to do is you have to move the arrow like this. You just click and drag whichever direction. It's not going in the other direction. Okay, we can keep this one like this and try to change this one instead. See, getting something weird. Are you all getting it? Are you able to align the arrows? For some reasons I am not able to align both the arrows in the same direction. I don't know for what reason, but select 1, 2 and select the enter, select first rail, second rail, surface. We were using sweep 2 rails. Select 1, 2, first section curve, second section curve, enter, and now it is aligned. But so it's aligned now. So this, it's aligned now. And say hit enter. Okay. So this is correct. Only why you get to see these twist, because these are only 4 points and these are, so this point needs to join somewhere, right? Correct. So here 2 points of hexagons are joining the same point. This point is joining this point is joining the midpoint. So this sweeping is correct. Only issue is, if it was a circle, the transformation would have been better. But the arrows were correct. See here, go inside this space, it's correct. It has followed the same direction. Is this clear? Have you all done this? Just show me. So let's just delete these. And let's see the next command, which is surface revolve. Okay. So how does this work? Let's go to a front view. This revolve is very simple. You all have done it in ArchiCAD, if you remember. You can draw a profile and have it revolve around an axis. Like in case of a wine bottle, or in case of a clay pot. Just define the profile, define the axis, and define the angle. If you want a complete sweep, a complete revolve of 360, say 360 if you want to keep it semi-circular. Let's just do it. Just go to front view. Why we are going to front and right view is basically we want to draw vertically, right? So that is only this. And you can use any of these 2 tools and start drawing. So how will that be? Start from type 0. You type 0 and say enter, it will start from here. You can give it some curvature like that. Just see first and then you can do it later. Just follow. See, here we need to end it. Say enter. So we have a profile. I have only ensured that the starting point and the end point are stopping on this line. So when I revolve it, and if there was a little gap here, what would have happened? We would have created a hole. So we want only this area to be. Now see, this is not very smooth, so what we can do is we can make it a little smoother. You can change this around if you want. Your grid is on, so remove your grid. Just move this around. So something else is on. O-snap is on. Remove that. And make it very smooth as you want. And this should have been on the ground, no? So wire you on top. So escape twice. Go to surface, revolve, select curves to revolve, press enter when done, start of the revolve axis. You can put the O snap on and make sure end is checked because you want the end of it, and you can just use shift to define that. And it's asking you the angle. Start angle is 0, yes. End angle is 360, yes. Enter. See it in the 3D. Okay. And because my record history was on here, now what I can do is I can modify this. So if I come here, put my control points on, if I move it along, see what happens. Because this one is on. Without this one being on, it's not possible. Okay, just do this quickly. Okay, let's just delete this. Have you all finished? Okay, next up we'll just draw an ellipsoid. Use an ellipsoid. Go to the front mode. So I've just drawn an ellipse. It's not an ellipse, it's an ellipsoid. So it's a solid object out of ellipse. You can see how it looks in 3D. Sorry, I did not give it the height. So go to the top view, enter first point, second point, third point, and then you require a height for it. So this is a ellipsoid. What I can do next is I can cut away the lower part by simply drawing a line from this point. Just draw one line, and then you can use this command split or trim. Use the cutting edge, enter, object to trim, so it gets cut. So we have something like a roof. Okay. And next what we'll do is we'll try to create some sort of skylights into it. Yeah. So we can use a primitive again. So we can use something like cone. So first point. Okay, let's just do it in top view. And then we require to define the height. So, and then we can just move this one a little bit and rotate it like this, and go to the front view. So what I'm trying to do now is, this is like a skylight. You can put another sphere here or whatever. You can put a cylinder. whatever you would like. And then we'll try to blend these surfaces like this. So we don't want solid edge here, we want a smooth curvature here. So I think instead of a cone, we'll do a cylinder would be better, I guess. And then the height, and then we can just rotate these around like this. Okay. So next thing we need to do is we need to cut away some surfaces. So the wire mesh is not working in the sense I am not able to see the outline of. And we can do it in 3D, no problem. So go to perspective and go below this. So what we want to do with this is we want to cut away the lower part. So what we can do is we can use the same command, trim, use this as our trimming object, enter and cut this away. Right? So it has cut away the remainder part. And then we can use the cylinder as a cutting edge, and then the ellipsoid. So here if you see, you'll get a hole, complete hole. Is this clear? Done? What is the next job? Just pay attention, you can do it later. Here we need to have some space because there is going to be a curvature coming like that. So you get a smooth blend. Right? So you require a space here. So we'll go to the front view and we'll just cut away this using the same method we used earlier. Just draw a line and use our trim command. Trim away that part. Right? Go to perspective, and now what we need to do next is, see, in order for this to smoothen out, the circle won't be here. The circle will have to come somewhere away. So there is a nice command to kind of offset the same curve on a surface. So the same curve can be offsetted on a surface. So what is the command for it? Go to curve. It's under curve from objects. No, is it not under this? No, it's called as offset curve. So offset curve. Offset curve on surface. So it'll ask you select the curve, select this curve, and which direction you want to offset it is correct. If you don't want this direction, no, that is the only direction given by, that is the only option you have. So now next you can say, you can either give it a distance, but you don't know this. I've just drawn this proportionately, I don't know the exact scale. So I'll just use through point. Now through point allows me to kind of locate my point anywhere on the surface, and it will offset it to that point. So it has offsetted this. Now I can cut away this portion using trim again. So use trim, use this as a trimming object, enter, and this as the object to be cut. So now I have sufficient distance for this to merge. Now there should be a hole here. Yeah, there is a hole here. So now there is a very nice command called as blend surface under surface. It will ask you to select the first segment. It will ask you to select. See, I have clicked here. So on the second object I will not click here. I will click on the same direction more or less. See, these arrows are very important. Now these arrows are correct. Just hit enter and you got the smooth surface. But I'll just go back one step and I'll just show you what else can be done with this. So first surface, second surface, enter. Okay. Now at this point you can put your preview on and you can control the preview. So you can control really, basically this is method of curvature. So if you go to position, it will just keep first and second position, it will create a straight line. If you say tangency for the first point, so for the first point is tangent to the curve, but second point is not. But if you want both these curves to be tangent to both the surfaces, you can put like this. Now curvature is generally the best option, it works fine, but even for curvature you might want to do some micro adjustments. So for example, you can tweak this, yeah, you can take this little on top, you can take this little like this, yeah. So you can decide on this how much you want. Once you decide on this, generally curvature works fine. Hit enter. So now it has created an additional part, right? Now you can select all these three parts like so and just say a union. Fine. So this will become one single object. This has become one object, but this one has not. Right. Generally it should have happened. For some reasons it has not happened, but we'll find a work around it. So now let's say we want to give a small curvature for this little fillet here, let's say. So then there is surface. See, fillet is a modification command, right? Blend was a command. So now you need to go under solid edit tools. So it would be somewhere here, fillet edge. Just select this edge. You want one unit is about this much, or you want slightly bigger. You can decide. I think should be able to even generally there's a point shown here where I could drag it and increase this, but okay, let's go by one and just see what happens. Yeah, so you get a point here, you can just drag it like this and you can decide how much of a fillet you want and then just hit enter. It will just do a rounding on that surface. Okay, just do this much and come back. We'll do the next thing after this. Just do the exact same process. You want me to repeat it? Draw the ellipsoid. Go in the plan, draw its size, then go in any of the other viewports and give it its height. Then in the front mode, any one of the elevation modes, you draw a line and cut away the lower part. Right? Then you can use either a pyramid or a cone or a cylinder as an object. Draw it in plan, give it a height in the other viewports, rotate it conveniently, and move it along the ellipsoid, and then you can trim away each other using each other as a cutting edge and each other as a trimming object also. So there will be two-step process. In one case you will use ellipsoid as a cutting edge and cut away the cylinder. In the other process you use cylinder as a cutting edge and cut away the ellipsoid. Once you have that, what do? You have to keep a space between the ellipsoid and the cylinder. So you'll have to cut away a little bit more portion, and then you'll have to use offset curve on surface so that you get some gap there, and then connect the two using blend surface. That's about it.